I gotta put this on tape, y'all. This is embarrassing. He just said to me, I spent 30 minutes or so after I just, puff and puffed again because I'm by myself. After that, I was talking on the phone that I was just talking. I recorded something and I had this microphone that did not pick up my words correctly. And basically I had lost footage, but not really so much because I can still hear myself, but the mic was just not good. He whispered to me. This is something I ignored, by the way, then. Just wanted to speak about it now. But he said to me, "Oh, I just wasted 30 minutes of my high just to come back down to this." Because I was sitting down, like I was just sitting down in silence, just reflecting. He was like, "I wasted 30 minutes of my high just to come back down to this." I ignored him because in the moment, to be honest with you, I ignored him, but I adjusted my body so I could relax a little bit more, because a state of relaxing is not something that is not something to be in the state of. You know what I mean? Like, relaxing is a state of being. But the only one who would want you to feel like you're bored, you don't have anything to do, or you need to move, you have ADHD, is not you. That's Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him. And it's so crazy because, wow, this is such a great state to be in. This is a wonderful state to be in. I don't know. It's just so crazy because I love to talk about my experiences and what I go through. And I just lost footage, but I don't think I lost anything because it's what I've experienced and what I know now are truths based off of the lie who follows me. And it's so sad that, like, this invisible thing actually follows me. And I've experienced so much of him that I was saying in the lost footage that any anger that you've experienced, whether you've experienced it from another or you've acted out in anger, that wasn't really you. And that's something that is a little strange, but you can't see where it's coming from, but it's not you. It's not you. It's a breath that comes from an existence that doesn't seem like it is because you look through him. He is the only angry thing amongst our being. And he frames humanity. But that's why a human, a part of humanity, had to frame him back. But not really frame him. His frame is because he can't be seen. When he is seen, by not being seen, but being seen in a different way, exposes him to where it exposes him in everything. And that's what I'm here for. And that is nothing to contribute the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in my life in any way. Because what comes from that is fear that he would want you to feel. And I say you because I could never be referring to myself when it comes to exposing a thing that does not exist, has no human power, only physical manipulations. But manipulations are just that, manipulations. And if it can be manipulated, the creator can always debunk that. Nothing is ever set when he's a part of it, because he's not even set. He's a result of himself. Lack of existence. What is lack of existence? Lack of energy. What is lack of energy? And it's the energy that we have as physical beings that only results in true power, manifestation, creation. Manifestation is creation. That's just something he can't do without a temple to do it in. And even in that, everything that is a reflection of him gets the same result as him. Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him. So because of that, everything that is influenced by him gets the same result. That's why naturally our souls will align or have aligned to the energetic changes that is separated from him. That's why a lot of blessings have been going around. People have been a lot more blessed in this time because blessings, what's given to us, is what distracts us from his existence. That's why it was such a blessing for me to use him in a time where I wasn't getting a lot of monetary blessings from God, but God gave me monetary blessing through the one that's invisible as money energy. Because he lacks energy, I told him the energy in my story to make me money with his existing presence in my life invisibly. Because you guys, this had me not live the way I wanted to live, but it was just necessary for me to know Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him so that he can die in everything. He died spiritually. He will die within mankind mentally and on earth physically. So he is now my money energy. He came with lack of energy because he just lacks energy because it's like God gave him something to show without seeing that he does not have power. If you have to use something to get power, you have no real power. Other than if you're a power being like a human, not just invisible, not just translucent, see-through. And that's why he's mad. He's so mad, and he contributes the air of the tree that was never supposed to be within us, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, through us for us to exemplify ways of him and only ways that he can contribute to in this earth. So anger and fear is ruled out. It's never us. It's always him. So he's angry because he is fearful of the now reality of him. And it's a small reality, y'all. It's a reality of poverty. And his throat is a symbol of that. But you can't see it. But in that minuscule part of the spiritual realm, his throat is the real pollution. I know so many truths about him. These are truths I can exercise until it's disintegrated. Because the whole time he could be trying to use me to get angry only shows that he's angry. The whole time he could be using me to say fearful in my story through me. He's the fearful one. Those are the only things he likes to use. So I know that he thinks he owns it. Okay, no problem. It's just a part of a tree though. You can only throw the seeds. But all right, no problem, farmer. But that throat has enough could have been farmers though. Because you know what I realized? Let me just say one thing. Why I would ever say he's a farmer while being floating invisible in the spiritual realm beside the tree that was not supposed to be, throwing the seeds and trying to claim being the tree. But we already know that's a lie. But it's okay. What I've realized, I work in Manhattan now, okay? So have you ever noticed, okay, so I go in a place where like there's a doorman, right? Or no, I wouldn't say there's a doorman. There's I don't know, but he's in front of the elevator or stuff like that. But not to be personal or anything, but like, have you ever realized overseeing people overseeing a building in a specific place, how much authority they think they have? Like the first day at my job, I was like, oh my God, it's a nice building. I went in the building to roam it. And but before I saw him and I was like, okay, I'm here to come in for this place or whatever the case may be. But then I saw a part of the building that I wanted to go and like skim through for a little while before I head up. And I went there after I, told him what I was going to do or whatever the case may be. And then I went into a part. I always wander, y'all. That's something about me. I just always wander. Like I'm a wanderer because I like Earth. Life is such a gift that it just distracts me. So I wander all the time. And I think, I spent about a good 2 to 5 minutes in the place and, roaming the place just a little bit. And I heard him coming after me. And then he's like, you can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And now someone has to come get you because you were wandering around the building. This is not your place to do that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, wow, okay. All right. Well, no problem. I'll just call the person to come get me. So, but before that, I was thinking, oh my. But also, I even said to him, I could own this building. He was like, I am in charge of the building, blah, blah, blah. It's just so interesting that I'm pretty sure he stays there for most of the day because he had a station set up, right? So he's not really seeing everything in the building. He doesn't really know much about what's going on, but maybe just going there for a paycheck, right? Which is all right, understandable. But that just showed me a lot in Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him. Not even the person, just in a small way, because Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him is invisible and only in my reality. So I own him, but he's in a small part of my reality. And it's just the craziest thing that where he works at as my slave boy, my bitch boy, Satan, he would ever think that he could do things like overstep his boundaries and mess with me while I am speaking, manipulating the business he's in or around, right? So, it's just the little things that you see in people that you can't just see in people. You have to see a little bit of how they could play such a small part, but act as though they have the power, and I don't know. It's just that just came to me. But I also have to, I don't really like men in this time of my life. TBH, to be honest, I don't really like men like that in my life because I've been hearing a man's throat invisibly for the past couple of years, I think, right? So his throat has been representing men awfully to me, to where I can only make money with men. I can't really really have a close relationship with you like that because he spoiled it for my sight with men now because he lacked the sight to be a man, but represented man to me with his throat. So now all men are like a little him to me. So let's talk about the trees now and how men can correlate to the trees, specifically here in New York. One of the things that is a huge problem and a huge indication to us here on Earth that we need help with, the air quality. The air quality is polluted in some places like New York City. Okay, great. Now, the air quality is polluted in New York City, but can we name places where the air quality is not so dense, like New York City? Not so dense air quality. What are some places we name? I'd say maybe in the islands, like hugely indicates the great air quality there. Like, Jamaica, the Caribbean islands, right? So around there. So what we can say, due to what is naturally known to grow in the Caribbean islands from the trees, are fruit, right? Right. So we'd say, okay, great air quality, fruit. All right, great. When we come to New York City, and New York City's trees does not produce fruit, and the air quality is also not the best, we can say maybe there's a correlation to the trees being good for the air and the trees not being good for the air. So the trees here in New York are like angry men with no money. They be acting funny. I don't really know about them. Sprinkle, sprinkle. Sprinkle, sprinkle. It's true, I don't really know about them, but I guess I'm like hitting the hammer on its head because, again, I'm getting manipulated by an invisible tree that follows me. An invisible seed thrower from the invisible tree that follows me. I really do think both trees follow all humanity, and it's for us to unlearn one, to live by one and only one for eternity while here on Earth. It's crazy that people are continuing to think rapture, maybe for yourself, inside of yourself, maybe. Maybe you will now only see the tree of life instead of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And now you can live. Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him. That's a result of that, by the way. So remember I told you that anger and fear is only something that he holds, so it's his. He holds to throw, so we know it's his. Because you are what you hold. So the trees here are angry. The trees here who produce no fruit are angry. Usually to give is what makes a human being feel at its best. And look at your hands. Are those leaves? Right. So the trees are you. You are the trees. If you produce no fruit, you would be angry too. Very angry. The trees in New York produce no fruit, and that's why the air is polluted. Very simple. Uproot the trees, make money, because money does grow on trees. We just don't see the process of it. Print money, give the people. That's their fruit. When you give the people money, that would be their fruit in their leaves, trees, palms. right? That looks like leaves. Whenever a person has money, they're happy. They do good. They be good. They do good because they're being good. And we are human beings. So when the trees uprooted, give up themselves for us to have fruit so that we can wait on the process of new trees to grow that will have fruit. Because we can just plant fruit trees and let them grow, produce happy trees. The happy trees would be producing trees of fruit. So they would be giving, serving its purpose for being. So they will be happy leaves, extending great air quality. How do you like the sound of that? We are human beings. There is no way a human being can manipulate the air quality on purpose without them just not knowing that if the trees don't have fruit, they won't produce good air. The moment you uproot these trees, uproot these seedless trees, these fruitless trees, and grow trees with fruit, you'll see the change within the air quality. There will be no more pollution. It's just that simple. And I'll help you discover all of the manipulations on this earth so that we can get earth to its intended way of being. New energy, new earth. There's one thing someone told me. Energy doesn't lie. Energy doesn't lie. Energy doesn't lie. So when I'm saying the fruit on the trees produce better quality air, fruitless trees pollute the air. There is a huge difference, but we can correlate some things to get to the real truth of all of the earth and the air in the earth. Because if there are some places of the earth that doesn't have bad air quality, we can only learn from those places and correlate some things that makes the earth a little better. Right? Like, there are people who actually believe planting more trees will actually help the air pollution. That is a lie. That is not true. That is not wise. I don't even think that's smart. Why would a specific area be polluted and the thought would be to plant more of these trees? Okay, we can just plant a seed and watch it grow into a tree that will produce fruit with many more seeds and nourishment for whoever sees it and wants it. So it's providing, the tree itself is providing for the beings around it. That would make the tree feel more like a tree, wouldn't it? So wouldn't you think happy trees would spew out happy oxygen? Doesn't that make sense? It looks like there's something will fall down from these trees, yeah. The sperm trees. The thing them will fall down. One dry seed where somebody tear out the fruit and yam it up. But all the seed we see. And it just fall upon ground, so. Nobody can eat it. It just dead there. Until the breeze blow it away. Because you guys, the pollution is a symbol of the invisible, minuscule part of the spiritual realm That's why the book of truth and the book of lies, that is the Bible, mentions that bitch boy Satan is the prince of air. That is not true. He's invisible. He can't be a prince of anything if he has no substance to contribute to being a prince. Prince is a physical thing, baby. Or can be a physical thing. Not manipulating a thing. He is just as invisible as a thought. That's why he contributes to thoughts so much. Words. Silent words. That's it. That's all. It's just words, baby. That's all. Empty words, actually. Doesn't have a result on it. It's like an undone math equation. Equal sign, not there. So are the numbers a part of the equation there? So invisible. A thought. Is it even there? So undoing him is so easy. Because he's so invisible, he stands out. Just when you know him, though. I know him enough to point him out in everything physically. Because it's always that invisible thing. Just like fruitless trees that can show him so clearly. He is pollution. So are the trees that are fruitless. I look like somebody I name it up. But it's just seeds thrown. Or the seeds fallen. Like his words. That's why it seems as though he oversees that tree. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That which was never supposed to be. That's all he throws. But you are what you hold. Even if it's in your throat. Because y'all know he's only neck and head now. Nobody, just a floating neck and head. It's a symbol, y'all. If you're so invisible, you have to be invisible. Because here's the thing. I've only heard him as a voice. So you know the voice comes from a throat. Voice box is in the throat area. And then I know he sees me because he studies me. He has a head with a mind that's not his own. But I can just say his mind comes from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because as the throat thinketh, so shall it be for he. I can't really say he's a man. He just sounds like he has a man throat. And according to what I saw in the spiritual realm of him, he only has a couple men in his throat. What man contributes in his throat. That's why Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him. You know what I'm saying? So, you guys, grow fruitful trees. And our air quality will be much better. It's so simple. If we have trees that reflect him and not humanity, it won't be good for humanity. Simple. So we won't have men who reflects him in ways where they try to show some kind of ownership when they don't even have a stock in something. You know what I'm saying? It's just, people extend some type of ownership when you could just tell when they don't have enough. And that's not a diss to any man, because we are godlike beings. We can have enough any day of our lives. But it's a reflection of Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him. He's so small, and he would want or wishes for every mankind, every human, to think that he owns souls when he just overwatches it. We can't say he oversees anything. He's just in people's business as an invisible one, following visible ones. So, and if we don't realize our true power, that's how he manipulates people to think he has some. That's the pollution he pollutes in humanity. So get rid of these trees, because these trees are symbols. When he sees that you think like this for the earth, he thinks it's okay for him to overstep his boundary in you as a reflection of the earth. So know that Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him, and know that he holds the seeds in his throat that comes out of the scrotum of the penis that is in his mouth, the penis portal, gathering a collective amount of sperms in his throat, contributed by all male species here on earth. All wasted ejaculation from the male species here on earth, contributing to the clogging of his throat spiritually, for him to be eradicated here on earth, within humanity, mentally, and on earth, physically and financially, as a result of the trees being reproduced into fruit for humanity to grow trees with fruit and fruit only. That's a symbol of Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him. He eradicated completely. I'm so happy for humanity. Wow. This is such a great time to be alive. Because I don't think we will be seeing death, if I'm just being honest with you. We've transitioned so much energetically here on earth. The earth actually has transitioned energetically, that people here on earth has to align with earth. It's either you go or you grow. And humanity will align, because humanity has to align. When your soul is updated, you will be too. That's what happened to me. So before the transitioning on earth, we just have to know what isn't earth. And to be honest with you, it can be a soul knowing. It doesn't have to be a verbal knowing, because then that will mean you have to learn Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him. And I'd rather not teach him. But if you hear about him, just know, just in case he's around, you got to point him out in some type of way. Usually, if anything can fit under the category of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is a category of many things, then knowing Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him is so good, because that thing will no longer be a thing for long. With the update of the energy on earth and in people, the work is done within your souls. And here on earth, where the soles of your feet are charged. So, I hope I didn't miss a thing. Yeah, I think that's generally it. I did speak a lot about the last time I spoke, the missing file included that the Bible is a lie. Jesus was a fabricated story based on the real character, Yeshua, who is God. So if Jesus was a fabricated story and that was a lie, God sending his son to die was also a lie. It was all a fabricated story, keeping us in a cycle where we would include Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him, who is bitch boy Satan, who is the influencer of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Whenever a sentence includes the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which is a category in itself, it's easily known to be a lie, because if Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him was injected in it, it was never supposed to be a thing. So we can discount it as true because the lie was injected from the beginning. So the Bible is a lie, except for the beginning of the Bible, the book of truth and lies, like Genesis 1 and 2. In the beginning, God, and God did, and God created. Right. So we should actually only refer to Genesis 1 and 2, discount and discredit everything after Genesis 1 and 2, because it includes the serpent, who is the lie. He responded to something. Okay, so yeah, he didn't like for me to say that Jesus was a lie. The moment we continue to believe Jesus's character, we're also connecting ourselves to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because evil is what happened to him. If we keep seeing God like that, we're including bitch boy Satan in God's story. What happened is, because the earth's energy has changed and people will align because we are being charged by earth, we have shifted into what is called, or what is known to be, the new earth. When we are in the new earth is basically an Eden with just the tree of life. It's an earth without the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It's an earth with only the tree of life, not the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And you see how many times I've included the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Bitch boy Satan loves to be included as the invisible one. Being invisible is his number one insecurity, you guys. So this is why he likes to be included in things. He is most included in the Bible. Put the Bible down. If you have the Bible and you really are itching to read it, only read Genesis 1 and 2. Stay away from Genesis 3. Even though you can read about him to close him out your chapters in your book completely, because he's closed out the earth's book completely. That's why the earth is fit to charge now. Earth is not waiting for the uprooting of the dead trees, the fruitless trees, the semen trees to be uprooted. Earth has already uprooted it with the lies, the invisible lies connected to it, like pollution, like a seed. Seed coming out of a tree without a fruit is a lie. That shouldn't be a tree, because it's not producing fruit. So it's a lie. It's just like the words that comes out of bitch boy Satan's mouth. It's empty. He shouldn't even speak. He's so invisible, you guys. He shouldn't ever speak. So that's why sometimes it baffles me how deep his throat is when he speaks to me, and only me, because people cannot hear him. So just imagine me with my physical mouth that could just turn on a recording and speak for minutes upon minutes on what I'm all knowing about. Unstoppable, while he's tearing out his throat, big throat hole, to speak to me as a physical being, and he lacks it. You guys, he's most insecure when I could see myself and not him, especially when I look in the mirror and it's just one solid me and he's just voice. You know how it feels to be so invisible you can't even see yourself in the motherfucking mirror? But you're supposed to be in this realm where all we see is physicality. He's insecure, you guys. It's never even people being insecure. Can you believe that? Can you believe that he would whisper things to you for you to feel insecure? Insecurity is not your emotion ever. Just like anger, just like fear, and now we know insecurity. What is that? But can you imagine looking in the mirror and not seeing yourself? And hating the fact that someone is living your dream. It's just to exist, you guys. Just to exist is his dream. So he has to overcompensate with words that are coming off of a tree that he doesn't even own. Just seeds that he's holding in his throat to throw it at us. What a sad life to live. I'm so glad Baphomet met a cock in his mouth that killed him. Now he doesn't have to live, eventually, because he'll stop breathing in no time. I bless you guys. I bless myself. I bless you because I bless myself. I bless God, who is myself. And yeah, the earth is such a beautiful gift. It's what God gave to us. Enjoy it because it enjoys you. And you just living on it. Living like you're just going by the tree of life now. Because that's the only tree the earth is going by. Now and for forever.